So, let's talk about horror games. Most of the time, the goal of a horror game is to invoke feelings of terror, whether it's a tense atmosphere to put you on edge or an imminent threat to bring out your fight or flight. Horror games make use of the feeling of fear to thrill the player. Touhou is, quite obviously, not a horror game series. It may be tense, but the only scary thing about it is early Windows Zune art. And the same could be said about the printworks. They've got monsters and demons, but you don't really feel the type of dread you would get from reading, say, a Stephen King novel or a Junji Ito work. Touhou just isn't that type of work. So, what did we learn today? Well, never... Whoa, hold on. Surely that's not all there is to say about this. I mean, look at how many horror-themed fan comics there are. Look at all the Touhou horror fan games. Surely I wouldn't wake from my eternal slumber to make a video unless there was a lot to say about this topic. And sure as hell, there is. Touhou's a weird series, there's nothing really else like it. And on this dreadful Halloween night, we're going to take a look at the spookier side of Touhou. So first off, to understand horror, we've got to talk about what horror is. Horror, as defined in the... Wait, why the fuck am I explaining this? Like, I know it's the white man video essay thing to do to pull out dictionary definitions and long-winded explanations for literally every term I mention, but you all know what horror is. It's media that wants to scare you. Sure, there might be different ways that it scares you, and there might be different types of fear that it evokes, but fear is always at the core of horror. So I think we can just skip the pleasantries and get right into the meat and potatoes of the video. Is Touhou scary? The short answer is, yeah, sometimes. The long answer is, well, the rest of the video. Gensokyo is a pretty lighthearted and cheery place to live. Like, yeah, there are all-powerful gods and spirits that could destroy the entire universe, but they're either too nice or too stupid to actually do it. Even characters that are guilty of horrific crimes against humanity are still written in such goofy ways that you can't even be upset about what they did. Touhou is, after all, a magical girl series. But as I'm sure we're all aware, magical girl as a genre is no stranger to dark and heavy themes. So do we see these types of themes in Touhou? Well, yes, but very rarely. After all, Gensokyo is full of yokai, and while Touhou and a lot of modern Japanese culture definitely cutifies yokai a lot, they come from old myths of dangerous and sometimes violent creatures. Oni, for example, are renowned for kidnapping, torturing, killing, and eating people. And this is also true in Touhou. But like, look at her! Even if she could kill you, which she definitely could, are you really scared of her? Like, yeah, Moku killed potentially hundreds of people, but it doesn't matter because she's literally me. So even when Touhou characters have the potential to be scary or are even outright dangerous, they just aren't scary. And I know that scary is subjective. I am, after all, terrified of crickets. But like I said earlier, while these things may have scary elements, I don't think that most people would consider them to be horror. But then again, do we really have a baseline of comparison? Do we even know what horror written by Zune would look like? Well, yes we do. And it is very interesting. The year is 2002, and this summer's comic market is breaking record attendance numbers. One of these attendees, under the pseudonym Zune, is about to release an indie music album on CD. Instead of leaving the inside jacket of the CD blank, he decides to fill it in with a unique story taking place within a fantasy world of his own creation. And what a story it would be. The album was titled Dolls in Pseudo Paradise, and each track came with an accompanying novella chapter. The story starts out with 8 men traveling to a mountain in the east, where they travel through a hole into a mysterious new world. They meet many strange and mystical beings, and one by one, they all die in mysterious, gruesome ways. One is poisoned, another beheaded, and the narrator finally hanging himself. And can I just say, what the fuck, Zune? And apparently Zune felt the same way because he reprinted the CDs for the next Comic-Cat that very same year. The new CDs had completely different story inside, instead reading more like a short story on each of the characters from Touhou 6 and 7. So that all begs a really big question. What the fuck, Zune? Well, there are possibly a few reasons behind this. First of all, this whole story is a nod to Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Zune is a big fan of Agatha Christie, and her works show up everywhere in Touhou. It's in the CD story, it's referenced in the song name You and Owen Was Her, and Hieda no Aku calls herself Agatha Chris Q. So maybe this whole thing is just Zune's way of remaking one of his favorite mystery novels in his own world of Gensokyo. But the audience didn't really catch the reference. Well, That was my theory going into this video, but then I noticed a detail while reading through Dolls in Pseudo Paradise again. When there are just 3 honest men left, they sleep in separate rooms and locked doors. Then one of them hears nails being pounded into a nearby tree, feels the pain himself, and then dies. At first I thought the man himself was being nailed to the tree, but the tree is outside and he is hearing it. This is actually a type of Japanese ritual known as Ushi no Toki Mairi, or Ushi no Koku Mairi. A person hammers large nails into a tree each night for a week, and on the final night, a curse is placed on that person that kills them. This is a thing in Touhou, but here's the interesting part. It doesn't work. Parsi Mizuhashi does the ritual in her backstory, and it doesn't work. Alice Murgatroyd does it, and it doesn't work. Akyu talks about this ritual in Symposium of Post-Mysticism, and she says it doesn't work. Ushi no Koku Mairi does not work in the world of Touhou. So why is it used to kill the honest man? Well, my theory is that it doesn't kill him, because this story is made up. Not made up in the sense that it's fictional, but in the sense that it is fictional in Touhou. The story of 8 old men is a campfire story, a scary story told in Gensokyo about Gensokyo. And who would write a scary story referencing And Then There Were None but Gensokyo's most prolific author, who calls herself Agatha Chris Q? But that's just my take anyways. So, are there other scary things in Touhou? Well, not a lot. Not because Gensokyo isn't a scary place, but because we don't see all of Gensokyo. We only see the parts of it that Zune shows us. And it seems like, from what we have so far, Zune isn't particularly interested in showing us the scary stuff. Sure, people die in Gensokyo, but we don't see it. Even characters that have gruesome backstories are now living their best lives. And after all, would we want it any other way? Besides, we've got plenty of fanworks to give us our fix of spooky stuff. So, enjoy your witching hour on this most hallowed eve, and thank you for watching.